Hi there, it's Jack Woodruff from verticaljumping.com, and today we're going to talk about one of my favourite exercises for building strength and power for vertical jump development. That exercise is the trap bar deadlift. Now, there's a couple of things I like about all deadlift variations. One of the most important ones is because you're overcoming the weight from a dead stop off the floor, you need to apply your strength very quickly to the ground. From a vertical jump perspective, this is great for increasing your rate of force development. To overcome something from a dead stop position, you need to overcome inertia, which again requires a lot of effort very quickly to get the weight moving. Now, that's appropriate for all deadlifts, not just the trap bar deadlift. The reason I like the trap bar deadlift so much, it has two distinct differences from a regular deadlift. Sorry. The first is you can see it has slightly raised handles. What this does, it means when you're starting for the deadlift, you're not quite in as deep a spot as a regular deadlift or even a squat. Your hips are slightly above parallel, so you're starting from a slightly higher position. Now what this means from a vertical jump perspective is that that range of motion is more specific to actually jumping. So when you're jumping, you don't need to go, like you're squatting, you squat to parallel, but when you're jumping, you never get down to that to start your jump. A jump is more of a half squat, more like that, which is, again, why I like the trap bar so much, closer to that trap bar range. Now, the downside to that is that you don't get as much glute development or glute involvement as a regular deadlift or a deep squat. So when you get down into that deep squat or even a regular barbell deadlift, your quads are closer to parallel to the ground, which does recruit the glutes a little bit more. Now you can overcome that with the trap bar by simply placing a box in the middle, or on a lot of trap bars they actually have a handle that goes along there, not on this one. So you can just flip the trap bar over and you'll start in a deeper position, which will, again, from a strength point of view, will help get the glutes a little bit better recruited. The other thing that I like about the trap bar deadlift over the regular deadlift is because the handles are on the side, as opposed to having the weight in the front, it means that you recruit your glutes a little bit more, and that's a lot easier on your lower back. So when you're doing a regular deadlift with the load in the front, you're coming up and there's a lot more emphasis on your lower back, even when you're doing it properly, and a lot less glute activation, glute involvement than the trap bar deadlift. Now when you're jumping again, your load comes up pretty much from your midline, which is a lot similar to the way the trap bar deadlift works. So the trap bar deadlift has a lot more glute involvement, a lot more quad involvement, a little less glute involvement, but from a vertical jump perspective that's not necessarily a bad thing, because your quads are very much involved in jumping. If you don't have strong quads, then generally you'll find it difficult to jump very high. So there's a couple of the reasons why I like the trap bar deadlift so much. It's also pretty easy to teach. It's also to learn as well, compared to a regular deadlift. A regular deadlift, again, if you do it badly, and a lot of people do, it can be quite hard on your lower back. The trap bar deadlift with the slightly less range of motion, the neutral handles on the side, does make it a lot easier for people to pick up. It seems like a more natural movement, which I consider to be a more natural movement, because again it's very similar to a jump. You're coming up with that shorter range of motion and with the force straight up and down in your body. It's not necessarily in front of you as a regular deadlift is. So with that said, how do you do a trap bar deadlift? Right, I'll do a few reps. I've got 160 kilos on the bar here. That's equivalent to about 80% of my 1 rep max. I'll just pop my lifting belt on and we'll do a few reps, and we'll go through some of the key things that you need to focus on when doing the trap bar deadlift. Now, some of the things that I'm about to show you actually apply to a regular deadlift as well. So if you don't happen to have a trap bar, which is probably the one shortcoming of the trap bar deadlift, is that not everybody has access to one. I honestly have never seen another one here in Australia, although I don't go to a whole lot of gyms, commercial gyms, but I've never seen one in a commercial gym. I'm sure it's similar to America. I know some of the bigger schools and some of the professional football teams here have trap bars because they're very good for training athletes, but I guess in a commercial gym you don't see a lot of people doing deadlifts of any variety, let alone a trap bar deadlift. Anyway, back to it. I will put my belt on and do a few reps, and we'll talk about some of the key things to look out for and focus on when you're doing the lift. Back in a moment. Okay, I'm going to do a few reps from the front, and also I'll swing the bar around so you get a side-on view. Some of the key things to focus now. I've got my belt on. You don't necessarily need a belt. I wear a belt because I have a little bit of lower back trouble. This is not squat or deadlift related, it's a different matter altogether. But if you're more comfortable lifting heavy with a belt, I say go for it. A lot of people, for years I never wore a belt and had no problems. It's an optional thing, but I'm wearing a belt because I need to protect my lower back a little bit. From a stance point of view, feet about shoulder width apart, comfortable, pointing straight ahead with your toes, get down, and the first thing I do is I roll my shoulders back. What this does, it pushes my chest out, and I lock my shoulder blades into place. So when I'm bringing the weight up, with my chest out and my shoulder blades locked in the back, my upper body, and I'll take a deep breath to hold my core tight. That's pretty rigid and pretty sturdy, and that allows my legs to do the lifting, which is what I'm trying to do. If I leave my shoulders loose and let them roll forward, what happens is we do the weight and start to sort of bend over, and you'll lose that tension through the legs, and it becomes a very much lower back exercise. So, get my feet set, roll my shoulders back and lock them in. Take a breath to keep your core tight, and away I go. As you can see, that's pretty heavy for me. I like to lift them pretty heavy, make it quite challenging, although you can go lighter and lift more explosively. From a strength point of view, you obviously want to go heavier, but not too heavy so that you're not getting enough reps out. Anyway, I'll switch the bar around to the side, and you'll be able to see what I'm doing with my hips, which is perhaps the most important part of any deadlift. So, back in a moment, I'll just swing this around. Cheers. Okay, I've got the bar on the side, you'll be able to see in a minute. I'll step into it. The key thing for any deadlift or any squat for that matter is that as you come up, you really snap your hips forward. You want to be getting your glutes contracting, you want your glutes and your hips driving your torso up. When you're doing a vertical jump, that's exactly what should be happening. You should be down using your hips to get that full extension into the jump. Same with the trap bar deadlift, same with the regular deadlift, same with a squat. Come up, get your hips thrusting forward, getting your glutes involved, your quads obviously contracting to extend the knees and provide as much vertical force as you can. The other thing you want to be doing with the trap bar deadlift, again as I said before, keeping that shoulder blade, shoulders locked in, your chest out, your core tight so that you're coming up from the hips and not from your lower back. So there you go, that's the trap bar deadlift. Again, it's quite versatile. I've showed you a few reps with a fairly heavy weight for me, but you can go lighter and more explosively. You can even go much lighter and do jump squats with it. It's a pretty handy device and a very good exercise for vertical jump improvement. Anyway, that's me. Have a good weekend. Bye.
Making this noise.